straight or cisgender. Right.
Thank you so much, sir. Without any further delay, now for our next session, I would like to invite Dr. Uttam Kumar Jaina, Associate Professor of KT College. And this session will be chaired by Professor Shubhamin Amin, sir. Sir, please come on the stage and take your seat.
So, good afternoon to everyone. We have come to the last part of the pre-lunch session, and our the speaker of this session is Dr. Uttam Kumar Jaina. He is an associate professor of English at KT College of Commerce and General Studies, Midnapur. He did his MPhil and PhD studies from Utkal University, Bhubaneswar, Orissa. Dr. Jaina completed his PhD on partition narratives of India and Pakistan, and his area of interest is Indian literature and literary theory. So I request Dr. Jaina to kindly provide his commentary on the session.
Respected Professor Madhusmita Patti from Addi Women's University, Dr. Amin, my fellow friends from City College, participants and dear students. I know that by this time students are munching together hunger and impatience. But nothing doing, and I will not be speaking a lot, but in tune with the hunger and impatience of the students, I will reduce my talk as far as possible. So as for the topic, the discussion, the topic to be discussed in this 2-day national seminar is the politics of narrative, contextualizing the ideology, means indigenous culture and literature. So first of all, as we know that coming to term with this word narrative, so I want to start with one example that you go to Wagah border, India and Pakistan, there is a gate. On the other side of the gate, Jinnah is the father of the nation. And this side of the gate, what is the place of Jinnah? But he is the father of the nation. On the other side of the gate is there. He is the hero, he is the father of the nation. And here in India, he is considered to be the villain. Where Jinnah is the father of the nation, Gandhi, Nehru, Congress is the villain. And here, Gandhi is the father of the nation. So in India, in history, we read that Jinnah is villain, Gandhi is the father of the nation. In Pakistan, they read Jinnah is the father of the nation, Gandhi is the villain, Congress is villain, Nehru is villain. Then who is villain and who is not? There is also a third narrative. The British narrated that both are villains, we are the only hero. This is the change in narrative pattern. So as you know that man is a perpetual storyteller and a listener of the stories. Man loves to tell stories and man also loves to listen to stories. The narrative is structuring a story in the proper way. It can be fictional, it can be non-fictional, it can be historical writings also, autobiographies, whatever may be. But in narrating something, what matters most is that something is not only narrated, it fixes one ideology. An ideology is also fixed. Three things are important when we come to this narratology, that how to narrate. Who is narrating is important. what he is narrating is important and what is the consequence of the narration on the society. So keeping in mind, when we say that narrating something is important, then what is its consequence is also important. There is an ideology, there is a politics which is severely involved. So when it comes to, when the whole world was colonized by the European powers, the narrative was different. The European narrative was that we have come to civilize the darker nation. And we know that Conrad has narrated the heart of darkness. Africa is narrated as the heart of darkness. But Chinua Achebe is rejecting that. It is not the heart of darkness. Things fall apart because you came. Then whose narrative? So, keeping aside, there is a whole black literature, other literature, where you can also read the theories of also French Fanon, the Negogi, then Achebe's writing. There is a whole lot of African literature and there is a whole lot of Indian literature also. So there is a politics, always in narration there is a politics. In narrating something, an essence biography or a history or what can be said literature. Literature is framed with the purpose that it wants to communicate something. It tries to establish a power ideology. So in that mode, when literature is concerned with one power ideology is working, even when I am not talking about colonial practice. Now coming down to India, the nation, cultures are threatened because of the dominant culture, because a dominant politics of culture is being created in every society. Our indigenous culture, the Adivasi, so to say, the so-called oldest people on this page of the earth. When the Britishers came, they narrated the Adivasi activities as barbarism and they criminalized their way of life. So in 1871, they passed Adivasi Criminal Act. And when the Adivasis organized one revolution against the feudals and the British, it was termed as Chuar Vidrah. So a narrative has been framed, and after India became independent also, a narrative has been created that they are the scheduled tribes or scheduled caste, the oppressed. So there is, even inside a nation, even inside a culture, even inside a state, there is a narrative which is framed that these are the other people. Even in Bengal, I get shocked when I listen to the TV news, Kolkata school result eta, Jela school result eta. Kolkata is different from districts. Calcutta is something different. Kolkata school result ei, Jela school result. Means what? This is a segregation. This is also a politics. That we are uppermost. Districts are marginalized. So there is a voice of resistance. Whatever people are writing from the below, that is being written because of a lot of pain. There is an ache in the heart. And they want to establish their own indigenous culture. They want to keep it. Like Suvendu Sekhar Hasda, he has written, the Adivasi will not dance. The mysterious element of Rupi Baske. There is Nirmala Putul. There is another Adivasi poet. She is also writing. There is Clienti Kerketa. She has also written about the Adivasi subjugation. It is not only, I am not talking about Adivasi subjugation. I am just giving you the examples because they are the most subjugated. And then when Bama is writing, Bama's Karukku, what Bama is writing about? Bama is writing about their oppression. So it is a resistance writing, a narrative which was long been suppressed by the grand narratives. The grand narratives, because there is a dominant grand narrative in every field which is working. A grand narrative is working in politics, a grand narrative is working in writing history, a grand narrative is working in writing social history, sociology, economics, everywhere. So, if I give some example from partisan literature, that how narratives, same line of partition, the approach of Indian writers to the line is different. The approach of Pakistani writers to the line, there is though there are some similarities, there are also lots of differences. Because the narrative through which the novels or poetry or whatever is written, one nation is trying to keep its own faith to the line and victimizing the other, valorizing themselves, victimizing the other. So, valorization and victimization, that is the politics of narrative. So, in no Pakistani novel on partition, you will find that there is a Hindu hero. The hero is always a Muslim boy, and the heroine is either a Hindu girl or a Sikh girl. And in Indian partisan literature, the hero is never a Muslim boy. The hero is always either a Sikh boy or a Hindu boy, and the boy is in love with a Muslim girl. This is narrative. This is the politics of narrative. There are many other issues which I am not going to talk. So, this narrative works on different dimensions. The paradigm, the structure, it works through language, through the context, because language is a very vital point in playing a role in this narrative politics. I will not discuss in details about all these, how language performs the politics of controlling the narrative of the text, because ultimately it is language that controls the paradigm of a text structure. And then the context also works. So, in narrating this contextualizing the indigenous, why indigenous? Because now there is a realization, with the consciousness coming, a realization has come that something is heavily loaded upon us, and now we are ready to say something back. I was also reading Oriya poet, marginalized poet. The name of the anthology is Writing Your Name on My Arrow. Writing your name on my arrow. So, the arrow is whose arrow? It is the Adivasi's arrows. We can also read many writings. Aranya Radhikar. You know whose book it is? We have also Draupadi, the short story you are reading, some of the students. And those students who are reading PG, you have many writings of Dalit literature, writings on Dalit literature. So, all these are what? This is a way of narrating the so far unnarrated things. Because in high politics, in Brahminical, the so called the untouchables are writing back to the Brahmin dominance, Brahmin and Kshatriya dominance, because a narrative in the society was created that we will control the ideology of the society. So, we will control the ideology of the society. That way the ideology was created. Like as madam was telling that the ideology of an patriarchy was narrated. Feminism is an anti-narrative of that. But there was always a bias which was worked upon the texts. So narrating things, society is determined by a narrative. Society determines a narrative. Bankim Chandra could not title his first English novel Mrinalini. Mrinalini. He had to give the title Rajmohan's wife, because the narrative was a patriarchal narrative. But the husband had hardly any function to play in that novel. Protagonist was Mrinalini. But that is the dominant issue. The narrative was there, but feminism is now trying to counter-narrate the narrative which was there, like in Indian partisan histories. History book on India were written by whom? History books on India in English were written by Britishers. Britishers wrote whose history? Indian history. And we read that. And our minds were politicized in such a way that we cannot love India. And we will always think that India is an inferior country to England and to Europe. That way the narrative was politicized. So then counter narratives are coming, because we want to write our own history. Adivasis should write their own history. We cannot write Adivasi history, because there is already a narrative which is in our psychology. So breaking that politics, giving space, giving or redefining, re-narrating, destabilizing the grand politics of narratives is the call of the time. And we have to respond to this call. We have to understand that. And in that context, because you know that the Adivasi Ramayana says, the Gonda Ramayana says that Ravan was a just ruler. And the Adivasi Mahabharata is narrated on the basis of keeping center Ekalabha. The center is Ekalabha, Adivasi Mahabharata. But what is the narrative in the Mahabharata, in the upper caste Mahabharata? That Ekalabha's thumb was cut by Dronacharya because he copied. Because he, without informing the Guru, he took lessons. That is the upper class narrative. But Adivasis, they have their own narrative of Ekalabhya. So narratives will vary. And to find the truth, we have to evaluate both the high politics and the narratives which are coming from the higher strata, and the narrative which is going from the lower strata. Because literature will have to come to an understanding of both, and then a third narrative will tell the truth. Thank you. So many things to say, but I can guess the truth. So my narrative says to stop my narrative. Thank you.
Questions.
Gratitude, sir.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, just I would like to thank Dr. Uttam Kumar Chena for his insightful commentary on today's topic, today's discussions. And now we move on to the closing.
Gratitude, sir. Without further delay, let us commence our third lecture session. I kindly invite Dr. Mahendra Kumar Mishra, National Advisor, Multilingual Education, Language and Learning Foundation, New Delhi, and UNESCO International Mother Language Awardee. This session will be chaired by Professor Madhushmita Poti.